national polling isn't really all that useful in U.S. politics. You really have to look at what's happening in the swing states, given how we decide the presidency here in the United States. So I do think the Biden campaign is going to be looking carefully at Pennsylvania, at Wisconsin, at Michigan, states that Donald Trump won in 2016 that they would very much like to win and are doing very well in. But perhaps best for the Biden campaign is the fact that the map has expanded. They're now looking at states like Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, perhaps even Florida and Texas, states that Donald Trump did very well in 2016. And so the fact that the Biden campaign is looking at all of these states suggests that they are feeling quite good about things. That having been said, as you note, in some of these states, the races are quite close and could easily flip in the other direction. So they cannot let their guard down at this point.
Lanhee, good morning. Tanveer joining in this conversation. You're making the point, Lanhee, that if COVID-19 continues to be the top story, then Biden as well as Harris, that combination are assured of a victory. But if the story turns and the economy takes center stage, then Trump and Pence would be back in the race, and the race would get even more competitive. What are the chances of the narrative shifting?
Well, narratives in U.S. politics can shift on a dime now. The media cycle is no longer this one-day cycle. We can have 20-minute cycles. We can have 60-minute cycles. So things can change very quickly. I would just say this. If you look at the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, it is consistent with other polls in telling us this one thing, which is that voters tend to trust Donald Trump more on economic issues. It doesn't matter whether it's this poll or other polls. When you ask the question, who do you think is going to do a better job with the economy, voters tend to believe it'll be Donald Trump. So if the economy becomes the controlling issue and the question of who can pull the U.S. out of this real crater that we've been in because of the coronavirus-related shutdowns, I do think it benefits Trump. I think that is the one factor that could potentially help him as we move toward the November elections. As long as the narrative remains on COVID-19 and the administration's response, I think Biden will be the favorite.
Sure. And, I need to raise one more point there, because running into the last lap of the elections on 29th October, we will get the Q3 GDP numbers out in the U.S. And many analysts are saying that number would be a record bounce back, obviously coming back on of a low base for Q3, even though the yearly performance would still be not a very pleasant one. And add to that, the jobs market has been squeezing out. It has been showing signs of improvement. So I wonder whether towards the last lap, towards the close, towards that election date, can things suddenly change?
Well, it's possible. I would say the more important number is going to be the jobs, the labor market numbers we'll get the first Friday of October. That will be the last labor market number that should factor in before the November election in any real way. The other problem is that you've got so many voters in the U.S. casting their ballots by absentee ballot or by mail-in ballot, particularly with this year's election and the pandemic. The reality is they're going to have made their decisions by the time we get to that end of October GDP release date. So in my view, voters' views of the economy and the handling of the economy are going to be pretty well baked by the time we get to early October. I think that will be the last opportunity for the campaigns to really influence the conversation there.